Mr. Kane was a man who got everything he wanted and then lost it. Maybe Rosebud was something he couldn't get or something he lost. Anyway, it wouldn't have explained anything. I don't think any word can explain a man's life.
In this video, I want to give you a simple and powerful technique that will help you grab your reader by the collar in the opening pages and not let go. It concerns the crucial idea of what is at stake. And to set the scene, I've taken a bus down to this place, the Martyrs' Memorial in Oxford St. Giles. It is dedicated to the memories of the bishops Thomas Cranmer, Hugh Latimer, and Nicholas Ridley, who were burned at the stake nearby for heresy in 1555 and 56. And the reason I've come here is that in order to demonstrate the power of my technique, I'm going to commit an act of heresy too, one for which I may well be, at least metaphorically, burnt at the stake. My heresy will be to suggest that what is widely regarded as the greatest movie ever made, Citizen Kane, can be improved. So welcome to another installment in my series on how to write your novel using that most unlikely of writing implements, a round Oxford bus ticket. Now, before people reach for the matches, let me just say that I am in no way denying the genius of Citizen Kane as a masterpiece of cinema. Think of this more as homage rather than criticism. All the same, I think we can use it to illuminate a vital and often overlooked aspect of storytelling called stakes. This is something you have to nail down right at the start of your novel. What is at stake for the hero, which really means, why should the reader care? And to see what I mean, let's consider the movie Citizen Kane. It tells the story of a massively rich and powerful newspaper magnate, Charles Foster Kane. Now, most people believe it was based on the life of newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst. And he certainly thought so. He was, I believe, hopping mad when he heard about the movie and did everything in his power to crush it. Orson Welles, of course, denied that it was based on William Randolph Hearst. The movie opens with a close-up of the lips of Charles Foster Kane as he lies dying and utters his last word, Rosebud. Rosebud, probably the most famous single word in movie history. The task then falls to a newspaperman, Jerry Thompson, to figure out what it meant. And in the course of doing so, we get to see an investigation into the life of the newspaper tycoon. This brings us to the notion of stakes.
I'll get on it right away, Mr. Olson. Good. Rosebud. Dead or alive. It'll probably turn out to be a very simple thing.
Because if you consider Jerry Thompson's task of finding out what Rosebud means and ask why we should care whether he succeeds or fails, the answer is, there is no reason. We know nothing about him. We are given no biographical detail and have no relationship to the character whatsoever. So nothing is at stake. In essence, solving the mystery is an intellectual exercise like solving a crossword puzzle. There is no emotional involvement. There's nothing at stake, and it makes no difference whether he succeeds or fails. Reviewing it at the time, the critic for the New York Sun called it a cold picture, unemotional, a puzzle rather than a drama. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. Most murder mysteries are like this. Hercule Poirot solves a murder, and we enjoy watching him unravel the mystery. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if he succeeds or fails. Alfred Hitchcock referred to this when talking about the reason he only ever made one whodunit.
Moving on to 1930 and Murder, which you've described as your first important whodunit.
And only whodunit.
Ah.
I've never made a whodunit since. Very simple reason. The whodunit contains no emotion. The audience are wondering. They're not emoting. They're not apprehensive for anyone.
No emotional involvement. Now contrast that with the familiar movie trope of the maverick cop who won't let go of a case even though he's ordered to by his superior. We always have that scene, don't we, where the boss says, "You've got 24 hours, Callahan, or I'm having your badge." These are the stakes. Callahan is going to lose his job if he fails, and the 24 hours is a venerable storytelling motif of the time lock. It adds urgency, which adds tension, which we feel in the belly. If the superior had said, "You've got 10 years, Callahan, or I'm having your badge," There would be no tension. So now it matters to Callahan whether he succeeds or not. But in order for it to matter to us, we have to care about him. Now, with the maverick cop motif, it's easy. We love characters like this. Mavericks who defy authority, anti-heroes who sacrifice their own livelihood in pursuit of justice. We naturally root for characters like that. So what about Jerry Thompson? Well, we don't normally root for newspapermen. We need some help here. In Citizen Kane, we only see him from behind. We know nothing about him. Of course, this is obviously how Orson Welles wanted to shoot it. But let's imagine he did it differently. Imagine we see Thompson's young wife and daughter, a scene of touching domestic happiness. They are poor but happy. And well, what would happen if he lost his job? Well, maybe he's been screwing up recently and his boss tells him that this is his last chance. Find out what Rosebud means or he's fired. Okay, that's quite bad, but not bad enough. So let's dial up the pathos and reveal that his daughter has a rare fatal illness. And maybe the reason he's been screwing up recently is because he's been holding down 2 jobs, trying to save enough money to pay for the expensive treatment in Switzerland, which will save his daughter's life. Well, now we're really rooting for him, and we could dial up the emotion even more with some shameful heartstring tugging. We see him and his wife late at night discussing the daughter's fate, and in the shadows the little girl is listening. And later she says to Daddy, "Please don't be upset, Daddy. I don't mind going to heaven." Well, now we care deeply about whether he succeeds or not, but we can go further. Maybe he is poor and struggling because he has a terrible fault. He's honest, a man of great honor and integrity. So what if we put his personal integrity as well as his daughter's life at stake? What if in researching the meaning of Rosebud he discovers something so shocking that it forces him to choose between his honor and his daughter's life? He discovers something so terrible that he knows he will never work again if he reveals it. But if he conceals it, it would be the denial of the code of honor by which he has lived his life. Well, it's not as far-fetched as you imagine, because I made just such a discovery in researching this video. I discovered an alternative interpretation of Rosebud that was so shocking, I found myself torn between my sacred duty to spare you unnecessary suffering and my love of truth. Well, don't worry, truth won. And we'll see what I discovered after this short commercial break. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. All is vanity. All the rivers run into the sea. Yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. It's true, isn't it? It all seems hopeless. You live, you dance, they put you in the ground. You need to create something that lasts. Write a novel. Get Gateway to Narnia, my free 10-part e-course on how to write your first novel. The link is in the description below. Gateway to Narnia. And remember, it may be hopeless, but it's not pointless. Now, I know you are thinking this is just a bit of joking, but no, what I'm about to tell you is true. It's about the meaning of Rosebud. The movie ends, as I'm sure you know, with the revelation that Rosebud was the name Kane gave to his sled as a child. It's the well-trodden motif of the man who gained the world and lost his soul. He had everything money could buy, but the one thing he didn't have was the lost happiness he enjoyed in childhood. Well, that's in the movie. But I came across a different interpretation after reading an interview given by the great writer Gore Vidal in the June 1989 issue of the New York Review. It suggests Orson Welles was being a bit mischievous when he denied that the movie was based on the life of William Randolph Hearst. It explains why Hearst tried to get the movie banned. Because according to Gore Vidal, Rosebud was the nickname Hearst gave to his lovers. You know what? Rosebud. And you thought it was just a child's sled.